The Crosstown Series starts this weekend on the South Side between the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. Which series does it mean the most to, the Chicago Cubs or the Chicago White Sox? We'll give you our predictions coming up. It's back to football for the Chicago Bears and the rest of the NFL as training camps are underway. As far as our Bears are concerned, the offense is going in the opposite direction while the defense is in stalemate. We'll give you the details coming up. In basketball, the NBA on NBC's return next fall will have their roster full of analysts and play-by-play men fully complete. And we'll have Sean Anderson of CHGO and the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika. That and a whole lot more. So fighting fun in addition to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday fun edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and you're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I am flying solo for the time being. I am Sid the Kid, a.k.a. Sidney Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at Ward Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give Ward Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our platform. And we have very, very definite opinions, as we always say on this show. And if you want to get in touch with us during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you better hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Yours surely will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll indoor or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given myself at this time the full powers to give you dumbos to bill and be a boot. As my co-host, LaKeena McGee, who will join me later, she always would say, bye-bye. But before we get started, shout out to our live game. That's LIVE Live Game Entertainment. That's checking us out right now on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages at 12:21 p.m. Central Standard Time. But always much love to the replay game. Checking us out on the replay, also on our Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages. Don't you ever forget our motto, whether we talk sports, music, or entertainment, we will always provide. And we will always provide you with the best sports talk right here on Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports. Coming up, yours surely will kick off the conversation by talking Bears. They're in day 3 of their training camp, preparing for the 2025 season. Their first preseason games in a couple of weeks. Some things are not looking good as far as offensively. Defensively, things are kind of in stalemate. We'll have the details for you just shortly. At the bottom of the hour, we'll talk baseball, Cubs and Sox. Round 2 of the Crosstown Classic will take place on the South Side. Pete Crow Armstrong has some interesting things to say about Sox fans. And the last time they met back in May in Wrigley, the Miguel Vargas, Brad Calamele, will they have any carryover for this weekend on the South Side? We'll give you the details of that coming up. Top of the next hour, we'll have Sean Anderson. He covers the White Sox for CHGO. He'll give us all the latest breakdowns for the Southside Hitmen of what some of the moves they potentially will make between now and the trade deadline, which is set for next Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we'll wrap up the show with our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika from KXRB. But first, let's start you off with the little Chicago Bears talk. As I said, they're entering day 3 of training camp right now. As if you're watching this live, they're wrapping up day 3 of training camp up there in Lake Forest, Illinois. Just as some of the reports that's been coming out of Hallis Hall for the last couple of days. Ben Johnson, we heard about the stories of him setting the tone in training camp with his stern coaching and stern ability with the players. That's been the same metrics and the same tone has been set in training camp, as we told you on this program throughout the whole offseason. That has been set thus far. The offense on 7-7 drills a couple of days ago, they were yanked off the field because of a couple of procedures they didn't get right. Caleb Williams struggled, and now everybody's panicking about, oh, will this offense get right for the time of the season? Calm down, folks. Training camp is where you iron out your mistakes, improve on your weaknesses, and cure your strengths. So this is what training camp's for. Usually at this time of year, the defense is always ahead of the offense. So you shouldn't be too surprised here or what's been happening with Bears training camp. Ben Johnson, as I said, he's setting the tone for this team for this upcoming year. He demands a lot of respect. He demands accountability, not only of his players, but the rest of his coaching staff as well. If you heard some of the reports, Declan Young, the new OC for the Bears, he's demanded the same thing. And also, too, Dennis Allen, the new defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. He has his players doing exercises in training as far as getting to the quarterback and coming up with new schemes, even though they're playing a man-to-man coverage this year. So all systems are go for the Chicago Bears right now. You're just seeing the beginnings of hopefully it will be a successful team for this year. Speaking of the cornerstones of the Bears that are expected to have a good year, Jalen Johnson, I know he hasn't practiced for the last couple of days or so, but we have audio courtesy of Fox 32 here in Chicago. Here's Jalen Johnson's comments to Bears reporter Cassie Carlson about what he expects for his teammates for this upcoming 2025 season.
All right, you're one of the longest tenured Bears in this locker room, which is crazy at this point in your career, right? What's the different feel with Ben Johnson now as head coach heading into this training camp?
I think really just him setting the tone with how he operates throughout the building and with the guys in the locker room. I feel like for us, we know the standard that he's setting. We know what high-level football looks like, of course, where he's come from, where Dennis Allen has come from, and different things like that. So we're able to see it actually being done and things like that. So I think for us, it's really just listening and taking it all in, and then for us pushing each other. And I feel like it's really going to be up to the players to win. I feel like that's my biggest thing. I don't feel like this is going to be a staff where we can try to blame it on somebody else and things like that. It's going to be real cleared up and cleaned up for us, and we got to go out there and win. So me personally, it's just getting myself ready to play, getting the defense ready to go, getting the team ready so that we can go out there and win on Sunday.
We'll see you on the practice field in 2 weeks. Thank you.
There's courtesy of Cassie Carlson, friend of the show from Fox 32 Chicago Sports. Yes, you're listening to Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid, Ryan Solo with you. My co-host, Miss LaKeena McGee, will join me at some point on the program. Piggyback on what Jalen Johnson just said. Ben Johnson is coming in with new ideas. He's a breath of fresh air, and we talked about what the mess that they went through last year with Matt Eberflus, and now the ex-head coach of the Bears, now new DC of the Dallas Cowboys. He was in over his head. The players ran amok in that locker room last year. We won't go through it again, but it seems like the players are adapted to Ben Johnson's style, and some players have responded nicely to it. And one of those players that's trying to respond nicely to it, and he's another player that's expected to have a good year, is Cole Kmet. He got some targets in practice yesterday. He connected on most of them. We'll see what happens if it translates onto the field this year. Don't forget about rookie tight end Colson Loveland out of Michigan. He's starting to participate in training camp now. He missed the mini camps because of a sore shoulder, but that shoulder is finally healing. Now he's starting to get some reps up there in training camp. And let's not forget the offensive line. Braxton Jones did not participate in practice earlier today. Karan Amagaji, the second-year offensive lineman, got some reps at left tackle today. That's going to be a position of importance because if you cannot protect the blind side of Caleb Williams, the quarterback, all systems will not be a go for this Bears offense. And also, too, let's not forget we talked about the tight ends. We talked about the wide receiving core and Luther Burden III not seeing action yet because of a soft tissue injury. One of the things that I'm concerned about this Bears offense is the running back room. Of course, you got rookie running back, the 7th round pick out of Maryland, Amagaji. The Bears like them a lot coming out of the mini camps. We'll see what happens as he progresses throughout his first training camp. Also, you have second-year running back Ian Wheeler, who tore his ACL last year. If you watched Hard Knocks on HBO last year, it was heartbreaking. The Ryan Poles let him stay on the roster to rehab his torn ACL. Now he's trying to get back on the field and secure a roster spot. But DeAndre Swift, to many people's likings or dislikings, had a disappointing year last year. for Chicago Bears at the running back position. Was it all his fault? No. The offensive line was not healthy. Caleb Williams got sacked 67 times, and there was no creativity with the offense last year because they had three different coordinators last year, and all that was a contribute or were contributing factors why DeAndre Swift had a bad year last year. Now that he's getting a second chance of the new head coach Ben Johnson, hopefully DeAndre Swift will have a big year. In the offensive line, this is going to be key to all systems being a goal for this team. Joe Tooney, who was acquired in free agents and via trade throughout this in this early in the offseason. Don't forget about Jonah Jackson as well, and Drew Doma, the center, who was signed from the Atlanta Falcons in free agency. Those are the core guys that are going to lead this offensive line. And should this offensive line stay healthy, I think that this offensive line could be potentially one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, but we're a long ways away from witnessing that. So we'll see what happens. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid riding solo here with you. And speaking of other NFL news, before we break for the bottom of the hour, former Bears quarterback, now member of the New York Jets, Justin Fields, dislocated his toe yesterday. Head coach Aaron Glenn of the Jets said that the injury was serious, but not too serious. I know the news came out via Adam Schefter, ESPN's tweet yesterday morning, saying that Justin Fields did limp off of his own power, but had to be carted off. When you hear those words being carted off, it usually means that the player has a significant injury. He's going to be out for a long period of time. That's not the case with Justin Fields, and it looks like he's going to be okay for their regular season opener against Pittsburgh in September. I think it's safe to say that you shouldn't see Justin Fields play for the New York Jets this preseason. So all the best to Justin Fields as he recovers from his injury, and then hopefully you can start off the year on a good note. Speaking of quarterbacks, bringing it back here to Chicago, and Caleb Williams. I know he's been struggling thus far. I know some of the national media has been getting on him. Well, he's starting off rough for Ben Johnson. What's wrong with him? Can he get this ship righted? He's the number one pick. He should be better than this. I tell people, listen, I know he didn't come into the Bears with the greatest reputation, questionable reputation with some folks, but he was the best player in college. He did have a good rookie year despite the circumstances, but he is starting over with new head coach Ben Johnson. You have to give this time. It looks like so far, at least the relationship between him and Johnson off the field has been great. Now it has to translate to on the field. Caleb Williams has been welcoming to the city of Chicago. It looks like many fans have been embracing of Caleb Williams, but also too, there's also the other side that want Caleb Williams to fail because of what happened with Justin Fields before the start of last year. But everybody's getting a fresh new start. Caleb Williams is more focused. I think he's more determined to help get this Bears situation turned around. And we'll see what happens when the preseason starts in a couple of weeks. So Caleb Williams has been in that playbook all off season. Now the fruits of labor will start to show, even though he struggled early, which is expected, as I said at the top of the segment. Things should improve as the training camp goes along, and as we start to get into the preseason. That's going to be a real tall tale sign of where he is, along with the rest of his teammates offensively, where they at as far as the playbook in this offense. So Bears training camp continues through this weekend. I know the Fan Fest, I believe, starts tomorrow at Hallis Hall at 8:30. So for those of you that have tickets, good luck, have fun, and we'll see if the Bears players will put on the show. And I want to bring in right now my co-host, Miss LaKeena McGee. Good afternoon, Miss. How are you?
I'm good. Being a good neighbor, I guess this is what I get for helping out a neighbor getting ready for their son's trunk party tomorrow. So I had to do some food prep.
Yeah, real quickly, Kenny, we got a couple minutes before we break for the bottom of the hour. Your thoughts about the Bears' performance of the first couple of days of training camp? The offense is lacking behind, not a shock. And the defense still working out some kinks, but Braxton Jones did not practice today. Amagashi got some reps at left tackle. Some people questioning the relationship between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. I think it's much to do about nothing. These are the early signs of training camp. Just like in life, you're going to go through some growing pains. So everybody just relax. Ben Johnson's implementing his mission statement. The players are following on the line. If you're not, you're out of here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those days where it seems like there was definitely a new sheriff in town kind of thing here with the with the Bears and Ben Johnson. So yeah, okay, they're clashing a little bit. Yes, it's going to take a while for everybody to kind of get their feet wet and implement everything. Yes, the defense will be further ahead than the offense right now, and that's fine. But I'm not gonna unless I actually see them on the field. We play games. I'm not. It's not. To me, it's not really nothing to worry about. Like I said, I think it's much ado about nothing. And like I said, let's wait till we get on the field before we start freaking out about anything.
Yeah, as I said, training camps are now open across the league, and as I said before you brought you on, I know there's this. I was listening to our good friend Mark Rohde from 670 Score on Rahimi Harris earlier today, about an hour and a half ago, and he says there's just still this silent contingent of Bears fans that want Caleb Williams to fail, and that's a group that wants Caleb to succeed. Me personally, I wanted Justin Fields here, but we're not going to bring up old stuff. That's water under the bridge now. I just say for me, I'm with you. I'm in show me mode, not just with Caleb Williams, but the whole team. And of course, this season will determine how well he plays. I'm talking about Williams. If Caleb plays well and the defense does their part, I think the team succeeds. Do I want Caleb Williams to fail? No, I don't. If he succeeds, the Bears succeed. And for the fans, I know we want everything on a silver platter. You don't get that all the time. But if Caleb Williams does what he's supposed to do, the Bears will win. It's just that simple.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, okay. Like I said, you're not going to see a lot at practice, so you really aren't going to see much of anything. I know some people want to kind of make it a thing where, oh, they're clashing and so whatever. I mean, look, as Caleb goes, so does the offense. I think the defense will be fine with Dennis Allen. So I'm not worried. Really, for the most part, I'm not worried about the defense. But I think for me, it's just that let's see how you get all these weapons now. You got an O-line, a pretty, I don't want to say stacked line, but it's a better O-line than you had last year. What's the question marks and such? But I think for me, it's just like, okay, let's just let's start playing some games and we'll see how everybody is fitting in this system.
It's Crosstown Classic Round 2 between the Cubs and the White Sox. Which this series, which does it mean more to, the Cubs or the Sox? And Picor Armstrong had some interesting comments about White Sox fans. It will get into the best and worst of Major League Baseball. You stay right there as you listen to the Second City Sports. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find my kid again on the Twitter, X goes again, IG. Excuse me.
As we dive into the Crosstown Classic and MLB talk for this half hour, if you have any questions or comments regarding that subject, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Okay, well, there's a storm approaching right now here in Chicago, so don't know if we're gonna, the Sox and the Cubs, round 2 of their matchup over at G-Rate starts later this afternoon, so we'll see if they'll be able to, maybe they should be able to get the game in, but it's gonna be raining on and off most of the rest of the day, so we'll see what happens here now. The Cubs hoping to kind of get back into the swing of things after losing the series against the Royals, losing 2 out of 3 in that series. The White Sox, I guess, Sox fans are pumping out their chest. They're 5-1 since the All-Star break.
We gotta get happy about something.
Well, I'm gonna get to that in a second here, but 37 and 38, they did win their series down there in that. I don't even know what would you call that place that the Rays are playing in right now. It's a minor league stadium with only about 10,000 capacity, so. I guess you can see why guys like Chase Matra felt comfortable playing in that particular field. So again, I kind of allude to that as well. But we'll see. So I think for me in this series, I think the Cubs, especially since the Brewers don't want to lose anytime soon. I'll get to that's a point of contention. I'll take that in a second. But I think both teams need this series more than anything. And just because I think the Cubs just need it for morality boost wise, I think, especially losing that series to Royals where they probably should have won that. So for me, I guess the Sox are playing with house money right now. Yes, they've scored almost 50 runs since the All-Star break. I know Sox fans want to puff up their chests and such, but I guess they need to hang on to something, I guess. But it's going to be very interesting to see what both these teams. They were both off yesterday, and I think both these teams, I think, need. I guess they got to latch on to something.
Yeah, your pitching matchup for this series coming up, we'll have Aaron Savali will go tomorrow against Kate Horton, but tonight Shota Imanaga versus Adrian Hauser. From what I read this morning, that's not a surprise. There's going to be a bunch of scouts at this game, perhaps at the series this weekend, but definitely at tonight's game because of Adrian Hauser pitching for the White Sox. We'll get more deeper into the Sox side of things with Sean Anderson from CHGO coming up, kicking off our number 2 coming up next. But Adrian Hauser versus Shota Imanaga tonight. Adrian Hauser, not Adrian Hauser. He's pitching tonight. Tomorrow, Aaron Savali versus Kate Horton. And then, of course, Sunday, to be announced for the Cubs versus Sean Burke. So I think this series means more to the Sox only because they won 5 out of 6 coming out of the All-Star break. You mentioned they scored 49 runs. You could throw it in my face. Well, you beat Pittsburgh and Tampa. Tampa is still a good team, folks. We know Pittsburgh is trash, but Tampa is always a good team. They are a very fundamentally sound team, and the White Sox beat them at their own game for the most part, taking 2 out of 3 down there. So the White Sox, maybe that day off of yesterday messed with their momentum a little bit. We'll see what happens tonight, but I think with the White Sox, with them playing with so much confidence, I think this series is going to be different than it was back in May at Wrigley Field, because remember, the series back in May, half the players that are on the White Sox now, they weren't on the roster back in May. And the White Sox, I'm not going to say played lifeless in their series, but They could have won at least 2 of those games back in May, but the way the team is playing right now, they're so focused and give manager real Venable credit for this. I think the White Sox can shock some people. Now, can the Cubs still end up sweeping the series? Sure, but I don't see that this weekend. I see the White Sox at least taking 1 game. I think they could take 2, but I see them taking 1 for sure. I think this will be more important for the Sox going forward as far as the young development of your young stars like your Sean Burks, your Chase Maidras, and Miguel Vargas, and so on and so on. But if the Cubs lose 2 out of 3 this weekend, and somehow Milwaukee keeps rolling, okay, you fall behind a couple of games before your big series in Milwaukee coming up on Monday. But it's not a big deal to the Cubs. It's more a big deal to the Sox. I mean, their players, not the fans, obviously.
Well, yeah, I think it's sort of interesting that you would say that because, like I said, they're considering where the Rays are playing right now. They're playing in a minor league stadium with only about 10,000 people. So, yeah, of course, guys like Madra and Vargas. I mean, those guys just came from the major it gets they played in the minor leagues for a long time, so they were probably comfortable in the kind of minor league ballpark. So I think that might have played a part. Plus, it was really hot down there too. We know how the Sox bats get when it gets 90 plus degrees, 80 some degrees. So. Yeah, I play a little bit of tribute to that as well. Now, if you're the Cubs, I think you don't want to get caught looking ahead to that Brewers series. Matthew Boyd, would have pitched on Sunday, but they're gonna save him for the first game against Mizorowski, which I gotta say that's probably a smarter thing. I feel like in that opinion, that's why we don't know what who's gonna start for them. But I think for me, look, if you think you're the Cubs, you want to go into a Milwaukee series winning 2 out of 3. I think the Sox could have won a couple of those games, those first games, but I think. Excuse me, I think with both teams, that's why I say this is important for both teams because you don't want to. Look, the Brewers play the Marlins this week. I know the Marlins are okay; they're not great. They're probably gonna be selling before the trade deadline. But I think if you're the Cubs, you don't want to get caught with your pants down and caught looking ahead. So I think you want to take care of business against your crosstown rivals, so that way you'll be geared up for that series coming up. You'll be going in with the confidence that you can beat Milwaukee, in Milwaukee. So I think. That's really kind of like the thing here. So I think this is series important for both teams for different reasons.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. LaKeena here with you talking crosstown series. Who are you rooting for this weekend, the Sox or the Cubs? Let us know in the comments at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. LaKeena will get them up on the screen for you. LaKeena, a couple of speaking of the trade deadline, of course, it's 6 days away. Coming up next Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. As I said, we'll get more into the Sox side with Sean Anderson coming up, kick it off hour number 2 coming up next. But I want to get into the Cubs side of things. Emmanuel Clase, as we told you on our last couple of shows, he's drawing interest from the Mets and the Phillies, to name a few. Now add the Chicago Cubs to that list as well. And also, too, Dylan Cease, the former White Sox pitcher, of course, now pitching for San Diego, not having a great year. The Cubs also looking at him as a possible trade candidate for potentially for next Thursday, before next Thursday's deadline.
Yeah, I saw that report, and I think you probably have to give up a little bit. You may have to give up somebody else from the big league roster in order to get Cease, even though Cease has not had a good season this year. So I think they may try to get you to give up more. I think you'll have better shots at getting the former, because I think you may have to give up maybe like a prospect, maybe not your top prospect. So yeah, I think Cease might be a little bit more on the table, I think, among those two guys.
And as I said too, with Adrian Houser of the White Sox, that's a realistic possibility as well for the Chicago Cubs. We talked about Cabrera, who I think is a better trade candidate from the Marlins than Sandy Alcantara, but that's just me. But realistically, I think Cease and Adrian Houser are realistic possibilities for the Chicago Cubs. So we'll see what GM Jed Hoyer does between GM Carter Hawkins and President VP Jay Hoyer does between now and next Thursday. Before we get into the best and worst of MLB from this past week, LaKeena, your Seattle Mariners made a trade with the Diamondbacks. Josh Naylor, of course, last year was Randy Arozarena from Tampa Bay. Now this year, Josh Naylor, the former Cleveland Guardian, he spent the first half of the year with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now the member of your Seattle Mariners, the assist put them over the top to get back for the M's to get back into the playoffs.
I think this definitely helps because they need pitching. So I think getting Naylor, I think is a big get for them. So I think he definitely is the guy that kind of can eat up innings for the Mariners, with something that they've been missing. So I think, look, this is a really good kind of like boost that they need. I mean, I know they lost their series against the Brewers. They did win their opener against the Angels, so that definitely helps with their the confidence there. So I think Naylor could definitely help. Now, could they get another pitcher, maybe a reliever? I think that's probably what they need to. They got the offense. I think an extra second base, I should say, could be something that they could look for as well. So I think, but yeah, I think Naylor. I don't think Seattle's done it. I think Naylor is a good start. I think he's a great starting point for them.
Okay. Staying in the American League as we dive into the best and worst from Major League Baseball from this past week. The AL East division race, Boston had their issues in Philadelphia, but the Yankees and the Blue Jays got down north of the border this week, earlier this week. Toronto took 2 out of 3. Of course, they won their opening series game against the Tigers in Motown last night. But I want to go to back to that series against the Yankees for the Blue Jays. Are you taking the Blue Jays seriously to win the AL East, or do you think the Yankees will have something to say about it? I think for the Yankees, I think that question will be answered if GM Brian Cashman, what type of moves he makes between now and the trade deadline. Now, do I think Toronto's a playoff team this year? Yes. Am I convinced that they're going to win the AL East? Something tells me no, and I'm staying right there for now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do here. I think because they definitely need they need extra pitching and extra bullpen help. I think that definitely would help a lot for them, and I think that they got the offense too. So yeah, I'm kind of wait and see mode for them. If they make any big moves, going into the trade deadline, I think that's probably going to be the thing of how far they go and what prospects are they willing to give up for. So yeah, I'm kind of wait and see with Toronto right now. As far as the Yankees, they need pitching. They definitely need that. So yeah, that's going to be something that they're going to have to look up for. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Yankees. And for Boston, you could probably say it should have gotten swept by the Phillies. I know Phillies fans are kicking themselves that they didn't get that sweep. But yeah, do I think they could still perhaps maybe be right there for the wild card, which they still are? Yeah, I think they can. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised they may do kind of like a middle of the road kind of thing. So we'll see what happens in the AL East.
And just piggying back on what you said about Toronto, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., even though he was named an All-Star once again this year, he's not having a great year. And look what Toronto is doing with his supporting cast around him. So it's been amazing what the Blue Jays have done this year. Like I said, are they a playoff team? Yes, but I'm still not convinced they're going to win the AL East this year. We'll see what the Yankees do, as I mentioned, between now and next Thursday's trade deadline. Going to the American League Central, of course, Cleveland won that series against Baltimore. As you mentioned, Kansas City took 2 out of 3 in Chicago against the Cubs. But the Detroit Tigers loses 5 out of 6 coming out of the All-Star break. And of course, as I mentioned, they lost their first game of their 4-game weekend series to Toronto last night, 11-4. Are you worried about the Tigers? Call me crazy. I'm not.
No, I'm not either. I think they've been such a high all year long. I think, of course, it was be a matter of time until they would kind of get into this little bit of a funk, losing 9 of their last 11. So I'm not too worried about them right now. I think, look, if they get to, if Cleveland gets it to 5 games, then I will worry. But right now, I'm not. I mean, this is sort of like the ebbs and flows of the baseball season. They're still 60-44 as we're recording this. So I'm not. I know Detroit fans are kind of like already like the sky is falling. I'm not. I think that they'll be fine. I think this is sort of the ebbs and flows of a long season. And unfortunately, this is the time that they're having this kind of a slump. Unfortunately.
Let's go over to the AL West. The Anaheim Angels had a chance to get to 500, but they were swept on the road by the New York Mets. We'll get to the Mets in just a moment. The Texas Rangers, they're a team that interests me, LaKeena. I know Seattle, your Mariners lost 2 out of 3 to Milwaukee at home. But the Texas is interesting to me because we talked about it for the last few weeks on the show. I thought that Nathan Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom could be up for a possible trade discussion. But you played the Oakland Athletics of Sacramento, as we call them on this show. As of right now, they'll cure their Texas's ails. They won their series at home against Oakland earlier this week. Do you think Texas is back on track, or do you think they're prolonging the inevitable, but maybe getting rid of some people by next Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, they took care of business against the A's. So, but yeah, I'm not really buying Texas as of this moment. So yeah, I think they're just postponing the inevitable, backing up the Brinks truck, as we've been saying.
Well, of course, Astros won their series against the Diamondbacks earlier this week. They still lead the AL West. So as we talked about, we know what Seattle did. Of course, they acquired a big bat and Josh Naylor from Arizona last night. So Houston, as we said, they needed to take off and have a nice, good streak. They're doing that right now. They're 60-42. Seattle, even though they stumbled this week against Milwaukee, they still right behind them. The Astros completed the sweep in Arizona. We know that this Houston team is not the same team that won the World Series a few years ago. We understand that, but looks like Christian Walker, their acquisition from Arizona, high ironic, he started to pick it up, especially in that last series against Arizona. Hunter Brown, the young starter, he's, in my opinion, number 2, number 3 in contention for the AL Cy Young. The American League is wide open. We talk about the Yankees, we talk about the Blue Jays. You just mentioned about the Tigers. The Astros should be in that conversation as well.
Yeah, they lost their opener against the A's. So yeah, that's kind of like, we'll see how they do against it. But yeah, I think Houston you definitely can put Houston up there with your Detroits and the Torontos and the Yankees for that AL. Like I said, the AL is wide open, I think. So you probably could still say maybe Seattle perhaps if they get in there, or maybe even New York. So and speaking of the Yankees, Jeff Passan just posted this about less than 10 minutes ago that the Yankees are acquiring Rockies' third baseman, Ryan McMahon. So we talked about that needed extra bat. I think he gives you that for the Yankees. So I think that they're getting him for the Yankees are in exchange for 2 minor league pitchers, including Griffin Herring, which is one of their top prospects, near their top pitching prospects. So Yankees get a good trade there to get more depth in that third base. And I think McMahon, as one of the few bright spots for Colorado this year. So yeah, this is a good trade for the Yankees.
Also, to pay attention to Ryan McMahon's defense too, because the Yankees infield has not been good defensively. You saw the Toronto series up close. You saw the defense, especially Anthony Phillips, holding his glove. Not good. So watch out for the Yankees defense, and especially in the infield. It should improve quickly. Going to the National League, we'll start in the National League West. Colorado takes care of St. Louis. 2 teams are trash. San Diego. I'm starting to worry about them, LaKeena, even though I predicted them not to be in the playoffs this year. They lose 2 out of 3 in South Beach against the Miami Marlins, while the LA Dodgers take 2 out of 3 against Minnesota at home.
Yeah, I think the Padres I know our buddy Herb Lawrence is his other favorite team. Was a little bit worried about his Padres. So yeah, I mean, you thought that maybe, especially with the Dodgers have been in their funk. Looks like the Dodgers are starting to get back into their groove. Guys are getting healthy. They took care of business against Minnesota. The Padres, on the other hand, that's not a good look for the Padres. Now, as far as the Giants are concerned, they went 2 out of 3 against Atlanta. So in Atlanta. So So I think the Giants. I think the Dodgers will do enough to hang on. Because I think like the rest of the teams have shown that they're just not, they're not going to try to make that move. And I think for the Dodgers, especially, if they can make a couple moves before the trade deadline to kind of beef up that their pitching staff and also their maybe an extra guy out for the offense, I think that definitely they will take control of the NL West.
Now let's go over to the NL East quickly. As you mentioned, the Braves. Their season's over and they need to back up the truck. The Mets keep on rolling. They sweep the Angels. You also talk about the Miami Marlins. As I mentioned, they 2 out of 3 from the Padres. And the Philadelphia Phillies, they take 2 out of 3 at home against Boston. I think it's safe to say it's going to be between Philadelphia and the Mets down the stretch. Can the Phillies finally get that help in the bullpen?
Yeah, I remember David Robinson looked okay in his first game. With the Phillies, I think they're definitely going to want to beef up that closer, that relief pitching staff a little bit. So you could probably say they probably should have, like I said, they should have won that series, swept that series against Boston. But you take it being a half game back, and the Mets, they swept the Angels, so they kind of took advantage of that. So I know they got Gregory Soto. Beefing up their bullpen, earlier this morning or late last night or something like that. So that definitely will help their bullpen out. But yeah, I think the Phillies, I'm sure they're going to make some moves there in these next week.
All right, let's get to the schedule for this upcoming week in Major League Baseball. Because we talked about the crosstown series between the White Sox and the Cubs. So we'll have the White Sox side of things with Sean Anderson and CHGO coming up after the break. But the rest of your schedule for this weekend looks like this. The Marlins will take on the Milwaukee Brewers' interest with LaKeena later on today. Arizona visits Pittsburgh. Colorado will visit Baltimore. Philadelphia will take on the New York Yankees. Tonight's game can be seen on Apple TV Plus at 6:05 p.m. The Dodgers will take on the Red Sox at Fenway Park. Tampa Bay will visit Cincinnati. Toronto will continue their 4-game series this weekend in Detroit. San Diego will visit St. Louis. Atlanta will visit Texas. That's on MLB Network regionally. Cleveland will face Kansas City. That first game will be seen on Apple TV Plus tonight at 7:10. The rest of your schedule looks like this. The Oakland A's of Sacramento, as we call them on this show, they'll face Houston. Washington will face Minnesota. That could be seen regionally on MLB Network. LaKeena Seattle Mariners will face the the Angels of Anaheim, wherever the hell they call these days. And the New York Mets will head out on the road. They'll take on the San Francisco Giants.
And your rest of your national TV schedule. Also, a special announcement for those of you who don't get neither CHSN or Marquee. Both the Cubs and White Sox, all 3 games will be on WCIU, the U, all this weekend. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who have not, who are like me and don't get a chance to watch either team because you don't get both those channels, you'll be able to watch it this weekend at WCIU. Just check your local affiliate there for time. The rest of your national TV lineup, you got the Dodgers and the Red Sox. This is your Fox Saturday game, and also Cleveland and Kansas City. So I think I'm assuming that most of the nation will get the Dodgers and the Red Sox, and the rest of the nation will get the Guardians and the Royals on Fox. And your Roku matchup, you got Seattle against the Angels, and your Sunday night baseball game of the week. For this Sunday, you got the Mets and the Giants on ESPN, and of course, also the Mariners and the Angels will also be on MLB Network tomorrow, and so will Philadelphia and the Yankees. So that's your schedule this weekend in MLB.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports, the Friday Fun Edition continues with Sean Anderson of CHGO and our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Every body in a work zone is someone's somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy. This is my sister.
Here's my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's LaKeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Yeah, there's storms approaching us right now. So yeah, if you see me blinking back and forth, that's not my fault. You follow McGee McGee on the Twitter X, at McGee on the IG.
If you have questions or comments for our next guest as we talk Chicago White Sox in the Crosstown Classic Series, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
We've been teasing it for like the last couple of weeks, and we finally have him on. He does great stuff for covering the White Sox for CHGO. He's the one, the only, the super cool and fabulous Mr. Sean Anderson. Sean, how are you?
Yeah,
hello.
All right.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Hello, Sidney and LaKeena. How are you?
Good.
We're doing great. How about yourself?
Hope we keep it cool and dry.
Yeah, I'm cool. I'm excited about the rain. I love a flash thunderstorm, so the more the merrier.
We've had those a lot the last week. Now, you just posted something on Sean_W_Anderson on your Twitter X account. You say you reposted something saying that from Robert Murray that Luis Robert Jr. may not be moved after all. Explain.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the Bible or the gospel or anything like that, because what we have been hearing is from Ken Rosenthal, Bob Nightingale, Jeff Passan. It seems extremely likely that Luis Robert Jr. will be moved. So Robert Murray coming in today saying that he may not move after all, and the White Sox aren't afraid to pick up the $20 million club option. That's surprising, and it does feel more like a leverage play than anything. I don't see the White Sox spending $20 million next year on any player, let alone Luis Robert Jr. He's currently in the midst of a 90-game hitting streak. That's been the one downside of his season so far. He has a career-high 26 stolen bases. The defense still looks, average to above average in center field. He does have value, especially against left-handed pitchers. The issue has been making contact against right-handed pitchers, but we've seen a little bit of that post-All-Star break and a little bit of the pre-All-Star break. So it's possible that they don't get it's possible they don't get the right value for Luis Robert Jr., but I'd be really surprised to see him on the White Sox in 2026. They don't have outfielders for next year, but they also don't want to spend $20 million on one single player.
We'll get into the Crosstown series preview later, Sean, but bringing it up just for tonight. Of course, tonight starting for the White Sox is Adrian Hauser. Of course, all the scouts from the contending teams will be at Sox Park tonight. Of course, I'm not calling that corporate name. Don't ask why. But assuming that Adrian Hauser pitches well tonight, what in your mind that GM Chris Getz can get for Adrian Hauser, assuming that he pitches well tonight? Because in his last start at Pittsburgh, he wasn't at his best, but he was okay, backed up by a great offense. But he's been pretty good since the Sox picked him up back in mid-May.
Yeah, what they want or need from Hauser consistently is just ability to eat innings. He's not going to be acquired to be a playoff starter for a team. So I don't think that folks should set their sights too high on a Adrian Hauser return. Gregory Soto was just acquired by the Mets from Baltimore for a pretty promising-ish pitcher, but he was still in the 15 to 20 ranks in their prospect rankings. The other one, Cam Foster, was a little bit behind that as well. I think that Hauser would be similar to a reliever return because he won't be used as much in the playoffs, if at all, because he's not a high leverage guy. He is mostly an eating inner that, if you have injuries, it gets you to October. He's not going to be a part of the 4-man rotation that you'll likely go to in the playoffs to win the most possible games. So I wouldn't have your sights set too high on a Hauser return. I think they will trade him, but I think it will be Tanner Banks, maybe a little bit higher of a return. They got William Bergoya of the Phillies, who I think was like 16th in their prospect ranking. So, prospect in the 12 to 18 range, I wouldn't be surprised headlining that package.
Would you say Aaron Savali is kind of like in that similar realm as well? You're probably not going to get your top prospect, but you might get like a middle of the road prospect for him in return if they trade him.
I honestly think they keep him, LaKeena. I think the biggest issue with Savali is the money. The great thing about Hauser is he's extremely cheap. I think it was $1.25 million. He's played some games already, so I think it's under $1 million for Hauser for the remainder of the season. Where Savali, I think it's about $4 million. So that's a pretty big price tag to pick up a guy that's fairly mediocre. The results are similar-ish. Hauser even has better results, but the stuff is fairly similar. So you're acquiring the same level of talent pitcher in Hauser and Savali. There's just a massive money difference. I think Savali ends up just finishing out the season for the White Sox. They paid Andrew Vaughn $6 million to be their first baseman for the entirety of their year. They obviously moved on from Vaughn. I think they're looking to just get some return on that value, that $8 million, and they'll find that in an innings eater. They don't need Savali to dazzle anyone. They just kind of need to get to the end of 2025, and I think Savali can help them do that, mainly because I don't think he'll draw enough interest from teams.
Also, Juliana Stratton as well. Vying for that seat.
Go ahead, Ted.
With that pitching staff, Speaking with that pitching staff, I want to go to Jonathan Cannon. Of course, his first start 1 week ago tonight against Pittsburgh, he was outstanding. And then his last start against Tampa Bay the other night, he struggled, but the White Sox picked up the win. Give us your synopsis, or do you think that he could be at least a number 3 or perhaps a number 2 in the future as far as a certain rotation, or do you still think he has a long way to go?
I think 2 or 3 is fairly high. I think that he can be a starting pitcher, and I think that he can carve out a pretty, decent career for himself. I don't know if it will be, for the White Sox for the entirety of his career. But what he's shown, at least in the last start, is a consistent struggle in the first inning. But once he was able to settle down, he set a career high in strikeouts, and he relied heavily on his four-seam fastball, a pitch that does grade out well, but he only throws it, I think, 16% of the time. It's his 4th most used pitch. So there is questions on if his pitching repertoire could be tweaked a little bit to enhance his results. But even then, enhanced results for him are inducing more ground balls, not becoming a pitcher that strikes out 9 in a game. That doesn't seem to be Cannon's profile. So the ability to get 5 to 6 innings is very, very important in Major League Baseball. We've seen Cannon even go 8 1/3 against the Astros, I believe, in his rookie year. So when things are going right for him, he can eat a ton of innings. So he could be a workhorse for a team. That's why I think he could be like a 3 to 5 level pretty consistently, is because he can give you 100 pitches every single night. The quality, I don't think, will ever be, top tier, though, of a rotation. But maybe he can get some good results because of his ground ball nature, or at least if they're able to tap into his ground ball nature.
Now, of course, Sean Burke made the All-Star team, and a pretty good story too. A Rule 5 guy, making it to the All-Star team. That is a story in of itself. So, do you think he could be a good building piece for when the Sox do become contending again?
Yeah, he's very interesting. He's obviously now on the IL. Shane Smith was running out in the outfield. I believe it was on Thursday of that Pirates series, and they said that he had an ankle injury. It seems likely that is a phantom injury stint. He is at the highest of his career, I believe, or approaching a career high in innings. I think his career high was last year, 94 in the 3rd innings pitched. I think he's around 85 right now, if my memory's 86 and 2/3. So he's approaching that career high. I think with the All-Star appearance, with the amount of innings so far, I think they're trying to see if he can last until August and September as a starter. I think putting him to the bullpen would be last case scenario because they see him as a future starter. His value is interesting because he has 4 pitches that all, at certain points in the year, have looked extremely interesting. He's relied on his 4-seamer a lot as of late, and it's, been pretty decent. The velocity has stayed consistent around 96 miles per hour. The slider was used earlier in the year, and it was a very, dominant-ish pitch for him, and that was probably in his first 4 starts. Then we saw the emergence of his changeup, that power changeup that he throws at 92. He's pulled back on that a little bit because I do think it messes with his arm a little bit. But then recently, We've seen the appearance of his curveball. So when he puts it all together, he could possibly be a 4-pitch pitcher, but he's never thrown over 100 innings in his career. So the potential, ceiling and floor, there's a huge gap there because he could be, I think, an ace if everything works out for him. He could be a really good bullpen arm because I think that he has the ability to hit 99 if he was dedicated to a bullpen role. But then also he could just be similar to a Jonathan Cannon. He's got 4 average pitches that he can get through with 5 innings. So the biggest thing for Shane Smith is staying on the 2025 roster, them gaining control of him because he is a Rule 5 pick, and then the ability to have minor league options of him, but then you're also going to have 5 years of control with him. So I think it's very worthy to see the journey out of Shane Smith. You drafted this kid 1-1 of the Rule 5 pick. He's already become an all-star for you. He's made a career high, I think, of 19 starts. Let's see the journey through, and it's going to be exciting to see what he becomes because the ranges do vary.
I'm going to be out of pocket going up in there. What do I do? What should we do?
We hang out with our guy Sean and
Should we be
the
responsible?
CHGO. We're talking Chicago White Sox baseball right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See LaKeena hanging out here with you. Sean, let's draw our attention to the infield. Of course, you have Miguel Vargas at first base. I think third base, in my opinion, is still open. But I want to talk to you about Chase Maidra. He's been getting most of the starts at shortstop this year until Colson Montgomery's call up back almost over a month ago now. Where do you see Chase Maidra's future on the White Sox? Will it be at second base, or could it be still as a backup shortstop? What do you see there?
Well, I think he will be a second baseman, which will naturally lead him to being the backup shortstop, right? If Colson can't play at shortstop, they can easily have Chase play there for a game or two. And right now, I think over the last 6 games, Colson's played and started at third base, and we've seen Chase move over to shortstop, mainly because they don't have a second baseman, or I guess they don't have a first baseman, right? I feel Vargas is fine at third base, but they can't put Vargas at third base because they don't have a first
Who's on first?
Because Lenine Sosa can't play first base. He also can't play second, but the best infield position that he does have is second. He's like, one of their 9 best hitters, so they have to play him. They can't put him at the DH position because Benintendi can't play left field, but you're paying him $15 million, so you can't put him on the bench. It's a mess. I think the ideal scenario would just to cut bait on Lenine Sosa. I don't think he's worth much. I think they'll at least try to get past the trade deadline to keep him on the roster. That way, if they move Slater, if they move Taylor, Talkman, a combination of it, Sosa could still hide out on the bench. They can call up Tim Elko, move Vargas back to third base, have Colson and Maidra up the middle at shortstop and second base, and then Elko at first, and that could take you from August to September. I think once Elko's healthy, that will be what we see in August for their infield alignment. So, I mean, Chase does have a very interesting, floor. I mean, our ceiling. We saw him dominate right away with that 300 average, really slowed down over the last 32 games, but he had a really nice series against the Rays. So if he's able to get a little bit stronger and battle off the, nicks and bruises of a 162 game, he could be a very interesting player because I think that's part of what he's struggling with too, is just, he has to play. I think he wants to play every single day. So part of it is playing through injuries and, you got to learn that. And it's his rookie year.
Well, you just made Sid's day, by mentioning Elko. I know he's hurt right now. He's on the IL down there in the minors. So hopefully we'll see him back up on the big league roster sometime soon. Now, who's impressed you so far among all the young guys? I know Teal had a couple of big hits during the Rays series. So did Vargas. Montgomery's been really solid. And who among and then Carroll too? We know what Carroll has been doing. So who's impressed you so far among that young core group of White Sox players?
I think the one that's impressed me the most is obviously the one that's had the smallest sample size, but it is Colson Montgomery. There were so many concerns, heading into 2025 on what his role will be. Will they call him up too early, and will he be the opening day shortstop? Is his back going to flare up and cause issues? Well, in spring training, his back flared up, caused issues, and he only played 3 spring training games, wasn't able to win the opening day shortstop position, and then he was absolutely terrible in Charlotte to start off April. And then once he goes to Arizona to fix his swing, you do see him standing up taller in the box, but it was hit or miss results. And then it did seem like something in the last week of Charlotte apparently clicked for him because he started to pull fly balls, started to hammer home runs to right field. And what we've seen so far in the majors is a professional ability to decide what and what not to swing at. During this Rays series, he did a phenomenal job of not swinging at balls. The one ball that I think he did swing at was fairly borderline. It was a cutter that ran in on him. So, he probably thought it was just a fastball. Fairly easy to misrecognize that. And you saw him also hit 2 home runs, right? One of them was a pulled fly ball that was a great piece of hitting. And the other one was, it was a pitch on the outer half of the plate, and he hit it to the outer half of the park. And, you're able to see power to both fields. And I think just great swing decisions. So I think what White Sox fans can take away is, obviously the future is cloudy, but we are seeing the top 100 athlete and even the top 10 athlete that some scouts thought they saw in Colson Montgomery. So it was really, a great first 15 games for Colson. I mean, he's outplayed Jacob Amaya and Vinny Capra already, who they put at shortstop.
Yeah, Vinny Capra's White Sox highlight being struck out by Clayton Kershaw for his career strikeout number 3,000.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Sticking with catchers, Sean, you talked about Kyle Till. His bat is starting to wake up. Of course, Edgar Carroll, he's been very good defensively. I know the pitching staff really likes him a lot. But what's the future for Corey Lee? Will he remain with this roster through the trade deadline or by the end of the season? Because he's missed most of the season because of injuries. What's his future?
Oh, Corey Lee. Okay. Sorry. There's it's Teal and Lee, and then I also combined what was it, Taro or it's too many. I think Corey has the potential to be moved. I don't know if he's going to draw that much interest, but he's hitting above, I think, 800 in AAA. I think that if you're a quad A hitter and play catcher, you do have some major league value. He was outplaying Martin Maldonado last year. Martin Maldonado is currently playing with the Padres. I mean, that's an upgrade right there. So I could see the Padres trading for Corey Lee, but I don't know if he has significant value. I don't know if it's going to be anything that truly moves the needle. I could see him being moved because there really is no spot for him on this team. And I do see him having some value, but it's tough to really nail down the value of a backup catcher, especially one that, isn't making the White Sox. And obviously we have a pretty good depth of catching, 2 top 100 prospects that are both catchers. So it makes sense why Lee isn't on the team, but also, it's not the best look when you can't break the White Sox roster. And it's complicated.
Yeah, it is pretty complicated. Now, I know you mentioned this earlier, Sean, but yeah, where do you see like Mike Tauchman going? And can you get like something of value for him? Because we know he's Mr. Versatile. So, where do you think he goes if he gets traded?
I honestly think Tauchman might be one of the least likely to be dealt. I understand that his season's been very impressive, and especially with only 50 games, he's put up 1.3 WAR. This is one of his best seasons in his major league career, outside of his 2019 year with the Yankees. But the interesting thing that's been brought up by James Fox is that he still has another year of arbitration. So they could keep Tauchman again next year for fairly cheap and try to run this back just next year. And maybe he's a little bit more healthier and is able to show what he can do over 80 games rather than 50 games. I think it's more likely that Taylor gets moved. I think it's likely that Slater gets moved. And if they end up keeping Robert, you already have right field and center field locked down with Tauchman and Robert for 2026. And that's the one place that right now I don't think they have a ton of prospects is in the outfield. They're putting Baldwin out in the outfield, but I don't know how much of an outfielder Baldwin is. We see how he played left field against the Rays on Wednesday. That didn't go too well. that running in catch. I don't know if they have anyone for 2026 to play the outfield unless you want to watch Dominic Fletcher again. So I don't know. Tauchman could get traded, but I could also see him just not getting dealt at all, because they can keep him for next year.
We're heading down the home stretch with our guy Sean W. Anderson from CHGO. He covers the White Sox. He's hanging out here with us right here on Second City Sports Zone Chicago City. LaKeena here with you, Sean. Of course, we don't have to discuss what happened last year with Pedro Grifol. That was a dumpster fire, so we'll leave that there. But talk to us about Will Venable for the stuff that we've been reading and hearing from the players from the White Sox. They really like this guy, and it looks like thus far the rest of the White Sox organization, as of right now, despite the record, they're pretty happy with Will Venable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the record is actually great. I mean, especially looking at last year, 121 losses. I mean, coming out and winning 5 of 6 at the All-Star break, they're flirting with, possibly not losing 100 games. I mean, if he does that, I mean, he possibly might get an extension. He could possibly run for mayor in Chicago. I mean, that's one amazing turnaround. If they're somehow, it's a really long shot if they're somehow able to stave off 100 losses. So I think that he's been everything that he was hyped up to be. People have kind of thought of him to be a manager in waiting ever since he was with the Cubs in 2017. And, it seemed like he waited his time for the right opportunity. And I think it speaks volumes to Chris Getz, Brian Bannister, Ryan Fuller. And I guess Fuller wasn't here yet, but to my point, Chris Getz and what he has built out, I think that it is really respectable, especially two former players. I think that spoke to Will Venable, the former player. And, what you saw is what you see is what you get. I think he's very even keeled. We saw him get really amped up for one of his 2 ejections, but even the other ejection, it was pretty, calm. So I think that he can easily relate to players. He's not like too old where he's unrelatable. He's still recently, a part of the game, was playing in 2016. I think that it's a really nice hire, and I think that he's proven himself well so far.
Yeah, well, so you just answered my question about what okay, to piggyback off that, what grade would you give him at this point?
Oh, A. I mean, there's nothing that, I mean, I think that he's been a little bit iffy when it comes to warming up bullpen pitchers. There's been times where, it seems like it's getting hairy for a guy out on the mound and they cut to the bullpen and no one's warming up. I think that they could be a little bit better. And hey, maybe that's even on Ethan Katz to, fire up a bullpen pitcher sooner. But overall, I mean, there's not much that with the lack of talent that you can really blame him for. He's doing, I think, the most with the least. And usually I don't think managers deserve that much credit. I think when you're taking over such a bad environment and you can possibly have a 21 loss swing in your first year, it's definitely working. I will say that. I mean, it could be as bad as it was or even possibly worse. So it's definitely it's definitely an up arrow.
So you're saying
you brought up Brian Bannister, the director of pitches, just a moment ago. Of course, GM Chris Getz has been allowed to revamp this front office. Of course, he has the assistant GM and Josh Barfield, and he still has to work with the limited budget thanks to Jerry Reinsdorf as of now. But is it time to give, even though we're still very early in this process, is it time for us fans and Chris to give Chris Getz his flowers just a little bit?
No. I mean, no. I mean, there's no star yet. I mean, there's no guy that you can look at and say that's going to be who this team's built around in 5 years. I think that it's a good sign, but I don't think, flowers and congratulations is anything. I mean, they still can very easily lose 100+ games. So it's a step forward, but I mean, unless he's a baby, I'm not awarding baby steps or congratulating baby steps. It's what should happen. You shouldn't be losing 121 games. Only 2 teams have lost 120 games since like 1962 or 1961. And that team that lost 120 was an expansion team. You've been around for 124 years. You have no excuses. So
fair enough. Now let's talk about the rest of the division real quick, Sean. Detroit, they've been, 60. I know they've lost like 8 of their last 10. They've lost 4 in a row. Cleveland's behind them. Should Detroit be a little bit worried? Do you still see, Detroit still winning the division?
I think I still see Detroit winning the division. I'm not too concerned about the 1-9 in the last 10. Cleveland's still very well far behind. And, maybe it's the tale of 2 years for the Tigers. They were insanely bad in the first half of 2024 and insanely good in the second half of 2024. Maybe they're insanely good in the first half of 2025 and insanely bad in the second half of 2025. But still, they're at 60 wins, right? Yeah. So, I mean, if they're able to get 22 wins, they're above 500. And I wonder if, if any other team in the AL Central can go above 500. So, especially with the Royals possibly selling, I think the Twins could move on from some players too. And it seems like the Guardians are even entertaining Class A. I think the Tigers win the division.
Yeah, me and LaKeena said the same thing before the start of the season. I said Detroit will be the only team representing the American League Central in this year's playoffs. We know what the situation with the Twins are going through with their ownership. Of course, Kansas City, they're not as good as they were a year ago. And the Tigers just, as you said, that they've been on the road since the start of the season. You could take this back to at this time last year, and they've been continuing to play good baseball. I want to ask you about the rest of the American League. Of course, you have Toronto leading the AL East, even though I don't think you could put the Yankees in the basket of death yet. You still have them, even though their defense has been bad. Of course, in the AL West, you still have LaKeena's Mariners and the Houston Astros, who with Hunter Brown being up there with Tariq Skubal as a AL Cy Young candidate. Do you see the American League wide open, or do you think it's Detroit and everybody else can just go home?
Oh, I mean, no, it's every. I mean, the Diamondbacks showed you 2 years ago that any league is open. The Diamondbacks sneak in as a 6 seed, against the Death Star Dodgers and are able to maneuver their way to a World Series. So anyone who gets a ticket punched into the postseason has a chance. I think New York and Toronto are likely for a playoff spot. It seems like Detroit's likely for a playoff spot. I'd be surprised if Houston didn't get a playoff spot. So then it really just comes down to Mariners, Boston, Texas. I don't want to rule out Tampa. And honestly, I think kind of a sneaky team could possibly be the Angels, only 5.5 games back. They're not done. I wouldn't stick a fork in them. And I think that they are in a weird spot where their owner's fairly aggressive. So if this team shows any life with Mike Trout, you have pretty good contributions from Joe Adell so far. I think he's at 25 homers. I could see the Angels possibly making a push. So I think that there's 5 teams possible for those final 2 wildcard spots: Seattle, Boston, Texas, Tampa, and I'll throw in the Angels for the fun of it.
All right, you know what? Let's bring on a fellow White Sox fan real quick as we're wrapping things up with our buddy Sean W. Anderson from CHGO here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. She's our weekend girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's the one, the only, fabulous Miss Christine Manika. Hey, Christine.
Hello.
What up?
Well, look who it is.
Hey.
How
Go
are
Cougars.
you, my friend? Oh my gosh, right?
Good. How are you?
We're doing good.
Did you guys know that we went to college together?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know. I know you went to St. Cyria's, but yeah, I did not know that you and Christy were this.
We went to college together. I literally just sent a message saying, "Wait a minute, I know Sean."
Yeah, what? Deputy sports director, were you sports director? And then I moved over to music director.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Yeah, we went to South Dakota together.
I know.
And then you got stuck there.
I know. I haven't left. I married a California kid who's an Angels fan.
And I think they can make it to the postseason. So there you go.
I told him the same thing, and he's like, "Nah, I don't know. They always disappoint." I'm like, "Try being a White Sox fan, honey, for a little bit. Then you'll know."
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I
so
love
who
a
won
small
the
world.
debates of the conversations of the White Sox between y'all two back in the day?
Oh gosh, we had a lot of good ones back in the day. I remember. Did you interview Ron Kittle with me, Sean, that day?
I don't think so. I maybe.
But we had a lot of good debates. Another guy that we went to college with that Sean worked with too afterwards, Mike Rankin. We had a lot of good White Sox Cubs debates, and somehow the Cubs always ended up winning those debates because of the Crosstown series always coming around.
Yeah. No, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, it was always fun. That was, the fun about college radio is no one was listening. So you can always just, do whatever you want and be as stupid as you want.
I tell myself that still to this day. I'm like, nobody's actually listening to me. That's how I get through every morning. I'm like, no one's actually up this early listening to us just, talk about whatever we want.
Pretty much. And,
Pretty much.
And if someone is listening, hopefully they're having a fun time.
Right. I always say when they're like, "Oh, I listen to you all the time," I always have to apologize. I'm like, "Gosh, I'm sorry."
Oh Lord. I feel that way too sometimes. Though, feel
Yeah,
bad.
Christine being the humble queen she is.
Right. Exactly.
All right, Sean. This has been Sean Anderson of CHGO. He covers the White Sox for the All City Network, and you can read his stuff at allchgo.com. Sean, before you go, where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, the tag right there at Sean_W_Anderson. And it's great to see the 2019 WXAV reunion.
Oh my gosh, right? Right on air. It's all
funny.
live. We'll do it live.
What a coincidence. Yeah.
I love when a plan comes together. So yeah, I love that. Okay, well, we'll tell everybody at CHGO we said what's up, Sean, and continue the great work and enjoy the series against the Cubs this weekend. I think the Sox will win one. I think.
Gosh.
I think they've been the upswing lately, so I think they'll. I don't think they'll lose 100 games. I'll put that on record. I'll make you guys feel better. I don't think they'll lose 100.
Yeah, that'd be something.
That's good.
I think they can win. I think they can win tonight. I think if they have any chance, going up against a lefty could be possible. So if they're gonna win, they'll win tonight, LaKeena.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right.
Thanks for chatting. Good to see you, LaKeena.
All right, Sean.
All right, Sean. Continue the great work.
Bye. All right, Sean. Hope to see you back at the ballpark soon. Much continued success.
All right, so that was Sean.
I can't believe you guys didn't know.
All right, that was Sean W. Anderson from CHGO. He covers the White Sox.
We didn't know that y'all two went to college together.
I can't believe that. That's hilarious.
Like I said, I love when a plan comes together unintentionally. That's usually like the best part about it. So
pretty much, yeah.
All right. Yes. Well, we got a lot to talk with you, Christy. We got to talk, White Sox, Bears, NFL, sports media news, and all the other good stuff. So we got a lot to catch up with Miss Christine Mack from KXRB. LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown, Christine Mack from KXRB. Second Season Sports on Sports Chicago. Our Sports Potpourri 7 coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at
Kenny
pestworld.org.
Chesney will be coming back next May 2!
Hey, this is Corey McGee, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Welcome back to Second City Sports with the hashtag Friday Funk Edition. You're locked and loaded and real live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's LaKeena. It's Christine the Queen. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG. It's SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
As we get continue to roll right here on Second City Sports. This is our, as LaKeena said, our sports potpourri segment. This is our last break of the show for today and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments of any of the topics we discussed on this very program thus far today, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LaKeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Okay, Christine. Now Beyond's with us. Now we the Sox. Everyone's saying that they're, well, at least Sox fans are saying that they're the highest team coming out of the All-Star break. They have the highest runs scored since coming back. What do you see, like an upswing with this White Sox squad, or are you still kind of like, let's wait and see here?
Usually during after the All-Star break, they're even more in a downward spiral. But for whatever reason, this time around, they are really kicking it into gear. They've had a lot of great prospects come up through the farm system. All those years of Jerry saying we got great farm prospects, I think I'm starting to finally see the picture of those prospects. So that's a good thing. I think one of the more hotter teams to come out of it, I think it's still the Cubs that are just dominating left and right now. And I also think the Brewers, they've been having some good ball as well. So for the White Sox in particular, I do think this is a hotter upswing than what it has been in recent years. And that's encouraging to see.
Which prospects has impressed you the most, Christine? I know you're out there in South Dakota, but with the limited access and the highlights you've seen so far, which prospect has impressed you the most for the Sox?
Oh gosh, is his name Colin? Is it Colin?
Yeah.
Something? Is it Montgomery? Is that his last name?
Oh, Montgomery.
Colson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Colson Montgomery. Yeah.
Colson Montgomery. Yeah. So I think he's been phenomenal so far. And that's why I like to see a lot of these young players just getting excited to be there and to be in the big leagues, regardless what team it is. And that's what the White Sox, I mentioned this before, that's what they've been lacking, is having that young, excited energy instead of veterans that have kind of been there and done that.
All right, so we mentioned the crosstown series this weekend between the Sox and the Cubs on the south side. We won't discuss what happened back in May. It was ugly. As I mentioned at the top of the show, half the players that were on the White Sox roster now, they weren't on the roster when they played back in May. As I said, I think this series is going to be just slightly different this going around for our south side hitmen. I don't know if you guys caught the comment, but P. Armstrong was asked, though, which opposing city has given him the most trouble. And he said Chicago. And Zach Zayman said the South Side. He said yes. And of course, the Cubs played there last year. P. Crow was a rookie. He said that some of the fans gave him some hard times, throwing him certain kind of gestures. We won't say on this program, saying certain dirty things, nasty things to him. So P. Crow Armstrong, whether we like it or not, he's going to get a faithful welcome from Sox fans tonight on the south side. He's up there with Javi Baez and Sammy Sosa as being hated by White Sox fans. Christine, even though the White Sox are not doing well record-wise this year, do you still look forward to the Cubs Sox Crosstown Classic as a Sox fan?
Oh yeah, always. No matter if it's at Wrigley or if it's at, the Guarantee Rate, U.S. Cellular, Comiskey, whatever you want to call it, park. It's just such a big tradition in Chicago, and it's fun to see fans on both sides just come out for the teams. Now, I hope that the White Sox fans are a little bit nicer tonight after some recent scandal with other teams that they've been not so nice to. So let's just hope that they keep it I'll say PG-13. Maybe PG would be great. PG-13 I'll accept.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really surprised considering what they did to Marte when he lost his mom. Saying some somebody said some really horrible things to him. So and they the Sox credit they kicked that person out. That person is now banned. So But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think like Sean said, I think they will win one. I think the White Sox will win one. I'll say maybe tomorrow. I think but again, we'll see. But yeah, I can kind of see them winning one of these games. I don't think it will be a sweep like it was in May. I just don't see that happening because the White Sox are playing a lot better. And like I said earlier, you'll be able to see those games. It'll be on the CHSN side. You'll get the White Sox coverage there on WCIU, the U. From all weekend long, you'll be able to see the Cubs series from White Sox perspective. So, folks who get a chance to watch the Cubs nor the Sox, you'll be able to watch it this weekend.
Yeah, great move by WCIU. Before we move on to some Bears talk, Christine, what's your favorite Cubs White Sox moment?
Oh my gosh. You're putting me on the spot, Sid.
That's what we do. We love it.
I know. I guess when the White Sox win, that sounds such like a bad answer, but it's always exciting when the Sox keep that crosstown trophy because at least we get something out of the season, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I will say this for me, and this was my, I'll say this for me. I think this was my second or third crosstown game that this one I didn't pay for because I was invited by a neighborhood friend. But back in May of May 20th of 2006, the AJ Michael Berry punch game. I was there on the south side when Michael Berry punched AJ, and the crowd got into it. Of course, most importantly, the White Sox won that game. But AJ got punched that day. Of course, he used that to his advantage to get into the All-Star game that year in 06. Of course, my second favorite moment was occurred almost 2 months later, July 1st, 2006 at Wrigley when AJ hit that 2-run home run off of Ryan Dempsey at Wrigley to put the White Sox back on top, and they won that game. So those are my two favorite crosstown moments there between the Cubs and the Sox.
I'm glad that you reminded me about the AJ punch because I was going to say that, but I'm like, I don't think that was during the Cubs series, but I guess it was. So thanks for the reminder.
Yeah, we'll give you the partial credit for that.
I'm at 25%.
Exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. So, Christine. Okay, let's talk about let's talk Bears and NFL training camps as training camps are now open all across the league here. Now, we've heard some things about that. That Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are clashing a little bit and such. So, what do you think? What are your early impressions of what you've been seeing and hearing from Bears camp so far?
I think that's pretty normal when it comes to having a new coach come in. And it's something for Caleb to keep in mind, too. This is the coach that he wanted. I don't think it was a secret that this was a guy that was on his list of coaches that he would like to have. And that goes for the rest of the team, too. I think he needs a little, kick to the teeth once in a while because he is still a young quarterback. And I think I would call this his true rookie season just because there is a coach in this position now that cares about his success and cares about the team's success overall and the goals that he has in mind. So I think it's a good way to shove down his ego a little bit, whatever ego he has, and to kind of think more towards about the team and what's best for the team. And if Ben Johnson doesn't necessarily see a potential in his mind for Caleb Williams, he's going to let him know. And he needs that. He needs that reality check once in a while. I think any quarterback does.
Speaking of reality check, one of the other main storylines in training camp this year for the Bears is the offensive line. You got 3 new starters. So, of course, on the defensive side, we're still trying to find a dance partner, i.e. a pass rusher opposite of Montez Sweat. What position concerns you right now, Christine, going into the season? Is the offensive line? Is it the defensive line? Some people say maybe even that running back, DeAndre Swift is back, even though he did not have such a great 2024. What position concerns you right now as a Bears fan?
I'll start off with the least position that concerns me. I'll say the running back is the least concerning to me just because no matter what type of a season or coaching staff there is for the Bears, they always produce fantastic running backs. I mean, seriously, if you look back at the past Bears seasons and today, what would have been Walter Payton's birthday is the perfect time to bring that up. Like, they literally have always had some great running backs, regardless of the current situation of the team. I think, yes, offensively, it is concerning, but I think the defense, too, even I don't want to say special teams, but maybe even a little bit of the special teams too, just because they let so many easy plays pass them by. Defensively, more so, just because you had guys that just weren't paying attention and weren't giving it their entire effort. Stevenson, for example, taunting the Commanders fans, and then that resulted in probably the luckiest play in Jaden Daniels' career. I don't think that would have happened if Stevenson wasn't paying attention. And with the addition of Montez Sweat, that definitely beefed up the defensive line a little bit. And with the offense, we'll see what happens. It's more or less the same offensively. I think they still need that strong center, and hopefully, one of the rookies can step up to the plate and be that guy. But I think the top of mind right now for me would be defense, not just because of the lack of attentionness towards one end of it, but you had a coach for the last couple of years who claimed to be a defensive expert, and we didn't really see those results right away until after the fact that he got shown the door, and then Montez Sweat came in.
Now we're not doing our picks yet, our seasonal, records or anything like that. So do you think that the Bears will be better than they were last year? I doubt they'll be worse than they were last year, or will they kind of be middle of the road? What's your kind of synopsis right now as of July 25th?
Considering the energy that Ben Johnson is bringing and how he's putting these guys to work, I'll give them middle of the road. I'm okay with them being middle of the road considering the last couple of seasons, and now thinking that this is really the big rebuild season with the addition of Caleb Williams in the mix now, having him and his skills be shown.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, LaKeena, Christine Hanlon here with you on the hashtag Friday Fun edition of the program. Christine, let's go to some basketball. Let's go to the women's side in the WNBA. They had that All-Star game last week. Of course, the players came out with their shirts, pay us what you owe us. And me and LaKeena, we had our commentary on our last episode this past Monday. We want to ask you, what were your thoughts? And just to give a background, the collective bargaining agreement between the owners and the players for the WNBA expires at the end of the season, but the new contract, I believe, between them and ESPN starts next year. So the players will benefit financially from that aspect of it. But what are your thoughts about the players protesting in last Saturday night's All-Star game?
It's long overdue. I'm a big advocate, obviously, for women in sports, regardless if you're on the court, on the field, in the booth, whatever the case may be. I'm a big advocate for women getting paid what they owed. And I do think that Caitlin Clark has moved the needle for that precedent to be set. And it's a statement that needed to be shown. I applaud, the women from the WNBA for wearing those shirts and making a statement known that will not just benefit them and their careers in the long run, but for any player that comes after them. They're only making it easier, hopefully, for those players.
Do you think they will agree on a new CBA, or do you think there's going to be a lockout? What do you think is going to happen?
If it was men running this, I'd say yes, there's going to be a lockout. But I think there's some pretty level-headed people in the WNBA. The commissioner, for example, she's great. I think there's going to be enough of a conversation to be had, and it's going to take a while. I'm not saying that this meeting is going to happen right away and that they're going to get what they want within, hours. This is going to take a little bit of negotiation, just because they are going to look at it from all aspects in regards to advertisement, ticket sales, player promotions, their deals that they have outside of their WNBA contract, anything like that. So they're trying to find an easy medium to see what that future looks like. So it will get done. I don't see a lockout happening, but they just have to be a little bit more patient about it.
And let's not forget, many of the players have to play overseas just to meet their regular income for the year.
Yeah.
So that's also a factor. One last question about the WNBA, Christine, before we move on. I think what we asked this about you about Caitlin Carter and all the hate, as the kids would say, that she's been getting, and some of that stuff did pick up, unfortunately, last weekend too at the All-Star game. Can we just drop it? Because the reason why I asked this is because, like you mentioned, she's moved the needle ever since she's been in the WNBA the last 2 years, and for the players to have the jealousy towards her, it makes no sense to me, just me personally. If you guys just hang in there and do your thing, you're going to benefit financially probably faster than you thought. Just hang in there, and you'll definitely get your just due. That's just my thoughts. What are yours about the unfortunate hate that Caitlin Carter's been receiving?
In regards to, fans outside of the initial, like the core WNBA, haters are going to hate. That's just what it is. And when it comes to players within the WNBA, I think it's interesting. It's intriguing that they give her this flack and a hard time. I think part of it is competitive energy. Part of it could be a little bit of ego too, just because at the time when they were drafted, Breanna Stewart, for example, she was the biggest thing to come out of the draft, and they were hyping her up like they were Caitlin Clark, not to the extent of what it's become for Caitlin, but they were, shaping her to be the next big thing. Same thing with Sabrina. Like, that was Kobe's prodigy that they were always advertising. She was one of his ambassadors when it comes to the Black Mamba organization and what he's created. So I think it's a lot to do with ego and a lot to do with them just being competitive at the same time. And is it right? Is it fair? No, but it's how you come out of it. And Caitlin's energy and her stats already speaks for itself.
Yeah, we wish her nothing but the best too. Now there's no limit damage, but she's still struggling with that groin injury, and there's no timetable for her to come back. So there are rumors that she might stay out the rest of the season. We'll see, but yeah, definitely to be continued. We'll piggyback into that conversation. Now, real quick before we go into sports media news, Scottie Scheffler is one major away from getting that career Grand Slam. I know I'm sure you got a chance to watch the Open Championship last weekend, Christine. What do you think of his performance, and can he get to that career Grand Slam next year over at the U.S. Open?
All I gotta say is never count Scottie Scheffler out. He was, in the top 10 at the start of the Open, slowly came back. And if you were looking at that leaderboard by the end of the fourth day, if I was the PGA, I'd be pretty happy with that leaderboard. You have Rory in the mix. You also had Goddard, who's making a lot of noise right now in the PGA. Wyndham Clark was even up there for a little bit, and it's nice to see him up in the leaderboard. Even I think it was Homa making a run in the Open a little bit, or Rick. Yeah, it was Homa who was even making a little run for it. So if I was the PGA, I would have been very happy seeing that leaderboard and just seeing a lot of those recognizable big names up there for golf fans. And with Scottie, we all saw what happened with Oakman. The U.S. Open is known to be the hardest out of all of the majors to compete in. Besides the Masters, we all know how the Masters goes. But there's something different when it comes to the U.S. Open. They meant to have that field be more competitive. And it's up to Scottie to see if he has what it takes to get to that level that the PGA is looking for. It's that ultimate Tiger level. We saw Rory, it took him gosh knows how many years, at least over 10, almost over a decade to get his Grand Slam. And hopefully, Scottie can be the next one here. And even, Jordan Spieth, he's waiting to get that Grand Slam title too. He's another one that needs an open win to get that. So it's either one of those two right now. Who's going to get it first?
You kind of answered my next question, Christina, but I was going to ask you, is Scottie Scheffler the next face of golf? Because me being a casual golf fan, of course, I know Tiger's not doing it competitively anymore, mostly because of injury and age. But I'll ask you this question: what were your thoughts about the moment between Scotty Scheffler and his young son crawling on
Oh my God, it's
crawling on the
so
golf course, crawling his
cute.
video? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's so cute. I mean, the memes that came out of that afterwards with his facial expressions, I guarantee you, like, even though this kid probably doesn't talk that much yet, he probably thinks, God, why are we running up to see dad almost every Sunday afternoon? Why is everybody taking my picture? Why is everybody wanting to know what my dad thinks about things? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this kid doesn't even realize the magnitude of, who his dad is. And the best thing about Scotty is that he doesn't let all that noise get to him. He's still a humble guy. He said it himself, as long as he has his faith and family, like, he's good with life. The money doesn't matter to him, and I think that's very honorable, and that's so, like, it's so humble to say from him, and it's awesome to hear that.
And so to the degree,
Yeah, it's very cool indeed. And we'll see how he does. You got the FedEx Cup about to start. He's right there in the top. So we'll see how Mr. Scheffler does. And the rest of that group. I know Rory's up there as well. The rest of the time here now. As you listen to Second City Sports, Sports Social Chicago, LaKeena McGee, Sidney Brown with you, as well as our girl Christine Mack from KXRB. We're getting to the time of year where a lot of the various networks are announcing their teams for this upcoming college football, and NFL season. Our girl Kyra Mills, she does a little bit of everything. You've seen her pretty much everywhere lately, and she's also going to be a big part of the Big Ten football coverage. She does sideline reporting. She's going to be doing it again this year. Our buddy Dave Preston, we're definitely going to get him back on too before the start of the season. It's becoming an annual tradition here on the show. So and I think that this some of the other Brock Fareed, here's a name I hadn't heard in years. Of course, Matt Millen, Tanner Morgan, former Minnesota quarterback, Jared Thomas, former O-lineman for Northwestern. So you're seeing some definitely a mix of old and new faces. So what do you guys think? I know I sent it to you guys to the list on Wednesday when it came out. What did you guys think about that list?
Exactly what you said. Just a throwback of some of those names.
Makes you feel old, doesn't it? With some of those names.
I mean, yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, I saw that list too, and congratulations to Brooke Fletcher. She got her spot again this year. Of course, she's the new White Sox TV field reporter for CHSN. So and she's been doing it on the Big Ten Network level for the last couple of years for college football. It's nice to see her back as well. And as you mentioned, LaKeena, nice to see our good friend Chicago's very young Kyla Mills. She's doing everything from football to the WNBA to soccer. So she's a very busy lady, and that's unfortunately, with all due respect, you haven't seen her back on this program, but we're definitely getting her back on this program very soon. So she's earned everything she's gotten thus far. So we're very proud of her.
Yeah, we like to play a little bit of part in her most recent. Oh, just a little bit. Just like a little bit. Just a little bitty part. Yes. I know you got a couple other sports media news you wanted to talk about.
Yes. We'll probably get into this more on Monday, LaKeena, but this just popped up on my phone via ESPN.com. I'm reading this verbatim here. We're doing this live, folks, as LaKeena would say. At least 100 NFL players face fines, suspension for allegedly selling Super Bowl tickets above face value.
Oops.
You don't say.
Travis Kelce, what are you doing?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that earlier. I'm like, what? Well, sorry.
What's going on?
What are y'all? Someone's doing something not supposed to be doing.
Oh boy. I know that most of these leagues, not to take it off subject a little bit, but I know all four of the major sports are into sports gambling. And that's basically crossing the lines here, even though it's legal in many states, it's still not legal everywhere yet in the United States. But selling tickets above face value, fortunately and unfortunately, that's what happens all the time. How do you think these StubHub and SeatGeek and all these companies make their money?
Yeah. my gosh.
They're selling those tickets like the rent is due today. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
I'm going to limit say it's more like the lesser known guys. They're probably not the big guys that make them
There you
tens
go.
of millions of dollars. I think it's more,
Probably.
that's probably very likely. I'm
Yep.
not saying that's the case, but I don't have the list. But yeah, it's very likely that's probably what it is.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wouldn't be
boy.
surprised. I would not be surprised. Yep, I wouldn't be surprised. But they were talking about suspension here. You really had to do something egregious to be suspended for selling tickets above face value. There's got to be something else above that to be to consider suspension. I just find that to be very fishy and odd. But like I said, we'll get into the story. If we have time on Monday, we'll discuss it. But suspension, you really had to do something dumb to receive a suspension for selling tickets above face value. That's just me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Not
it's
my
gotta be.
circus, not my monkeys, but I'm enjoying the show.
Yeah, same. I'm just like, okay, there's got to be more to it than just selling tickets. Like, there's got to be more to it, unless it's like like an underground kind of thing where
It's 100% like a drug deal. That's exactly what's happening.
You would be suspended like, like they're the first players, like they'll go sell their tickets Super Bowl tickets over face value. There's more to it than that, I think.
Yeah, when events like that are in high demand, you can set the price, and when one person doesn't want it, others will follow if they can afford it. That's how this goes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. All right, Phillip Rivers earlier this week announced his retirement. He signed a one-day contract with the Chargers. Back to he was originally drafted by the San Diego Chargers, of course, now the Los Angeles Chargers. Played 16 seasons, 8-time Pro Bowler. He holds more than 30 franchise records. Christine, I'll start with you. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes, even though he didn't have the opportunity to get a ring, what he wanted, a big championship, I definitely think he's up there. To be with a team 16 seasons, that's amazing in itself, to be with one team like that for a long period of time. And he also has done a lot for his own community, when he got out of the NFL, being a coach. And I remember, it was a couple of years ago, that was a big news for that small town. And it just shows the type of guy that he is. Big family guy. I think he has 10 kids. I could be underselling that number, but it's around there. And just a great example for any athlete, I think. So I think he's deserving of it, regardless of the championship status.
I know that he annoyed some people throughout the years, especially early in his career, i.e. Jay Cutler, before Cutler joined the Bears. But as you mentioned, Christine, Phillip Rivers put up great numbers, whether it was with the Colts during his last couple of years or with the Chargers during the majority of his career. Let's not forget, when the Chargers moved to LA in 2016, he was there, and they had a couple of cracks of getting to the Super Bowl. He still put up great numbers. But even though he doesn't have a ring, he has the numbers that is up there with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, who both played in that era. So for that reason alone, Phillip Rivers is a model of consistency, and he represented himself well with that Chargers organization. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. He won't. I don't think he'll be first ballot, but I think he'll definitely get in, maybe like a second or third year of eligibility. I think the stats are there. He was a 4 or 5-time All-Pro. So, he'll definitely. I remember he was at NC State when he was playing in college. He had like 3 or 4 kids already. So
yeah,
starting early.
Yeah, they started early. Yeah, he's been with his wife for I think 30 years. I think they were like
a long time.
Yeah, middle school sweethearts. Yeah, so that doesn't really. I know that might turn some folks off, but it is what it is. Yeah, I think he'll definitely get it eventually.
All right, staying with the NFL. Joining Danny Rogers, who's the team reporter for the Detroit Lions, for their preseason broadcast. Jason Benetti, Chicago's very own. Of course, he still is going to call Detroit Tigers games for FanDuel Sports Detroit. He's going to be the new voice for preseason football for the Detroit Lions.
Cool. Good for him.
Yeah, very deserving. Yeah. Very deserving. Yeah, he actually, when he was at ESPN, he actually did some of their NFL coverage. So, this is he's definitely very deserving. And we'll see how the new Lions team looks.
Yep. And he's the number 2 voice currently for college basketball and college football for Fox Sports. So very well deserved. And he's done NFL games in the past for Fox as well. So as you guys said, very much well deserved.
Now staying with sports media news, NBC Sports is finalizing their game analysts team for their NBA coverage when they get that back. Also, they added another play-by-play guy, Michael Grady. Of course, if you guys haven't heard him, I think he's done stuff with the Cavs. I think for the last few years.
He's the current TV voice for the Minnesota Timberwolves. I remember about 15 years ago when he started out as a team reporter for back then the New Jersey Nets on the Yes Network. But he's grown over the years. He's done some Brooklyn Nets broadcasts a few years ago. Of course, he just, I believe, completed his second year with the T-Wolves. Of course, he's done some WNBA games. He did his first playoff game, I believe, this year with ESPN for the NBA playoffs. So he's a star on the rise. I'm very proud of him. So it's great that he's getting a national gig with the NBA on NBC.
I think he's done some college hoops as well, I believe, for ESPN for last couple years. So yeah, he definitely knows his hoops. Now, some other analysts that they've added, former number 1 pick Brad Doherty, Derek Fisher, 5-time NBA champion, Robbie Hummel, Austin Rivers, and a guy that became a cult figure in Chicago, Brian Scalabrine.
Good list.
AKA the White Mamba. He barely got off the bench during the last part of the Derrick Rose era. But of course, he took over the Boston TV analyst gig after Tom Heinz has passed it a few years ago. Scalabrine has a great personality. I really enjoy listening and watching him on the NBC Sports Boston with the Celtics broadcast. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does with this gig at NBC. Of course, he still will be calling Celtics games as well, but it's going to be interesting to see who he pairs up with. Will he be used in studio? Because right now it's just Vince Carter and Carmelo Anthony as studio analysts. I wanted to see if they're going to put Brian Scalabrine in there in the studio for a minute.
Yeah, I'm wondering that too, because like I said, a lot of these games are going to be streaming on Peacock, or like a third of their games. So I think that's going to be interesting to see like how they're going to do that. Or we may see a rotating maybe. We know Doherty and Hummel have a lot of experience. Hummel does a great job with the college hoops coverage on ESPN and for Fox. Austin Rivers, I've seen him do some studio stuff, so they might stick with that as well as Derek Fisher. So we'll see. Should be interesting. But NBC's going all in for their NBA coverage.
Yep, and hopefully Jalen Rose, who's done some college basketball for NBC this past year, hopefully they'll add him to the NBA coverage as well. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah,
again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. We'll see. I mean, listen, Turner might put them with in there with their college hoops coverage too. So we'll see. Anything else before we disperse here, friends?
Oh, yes. Friendly reminder, during this Crosstown showdown this weekend, tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time at Sox Park in Lot B, B as in boy, the Chicago Sports Bums and the Section 108 will have their July 2025 Whiskey at Comiskey tailgate. All the famous people from White Sox Twitter will be there. I'll be there. Everybody else will be there. Maybe a certain celebrity or two will be there. Who is it? Get your butt down there tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time at Sox Park in Lot B. B as in boy. It's a White Sox Cubs tailgate whiskey at Comiskey. Come one, come all. Bring the family, bring the kids. We're going to have a great time. Games, food, and of course, lots of liquor, lots of whiskey. So come one, come all tomorrow at Sox Park at 3:10 p.m. right before Game 2 of the Cubs Sox series at Sox Park.
Oh gosh, it's gonna be very interesting to see. And of course, like I said, you can watch the CHGO feed of the White Sox games on WCIU. They use so. Like I said, if you guys don't get a chance to watch White Sox or Cubs games, you guys will get a chance to watch the Cubs and White Sox this weekend over at G-Rate Field. Now, with that said, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter, X at Keena McGee, the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. Excuse me, SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
And they can follow me at @Manika_KXRB.
And that bird is flown.
Oh yeah, it's flown the coop for a while now.
Yeah, well, so yeah, the bird, the bird's been gone, as they say. So,
He gone.
Of course, and of course, you can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and so much more. Of course, you can catch the replays. But you're miss a guest or a segment, no worries. You can catch it anytime, anywhere on Sports Social Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
And also, too, you can catch Second Stage Sports every Monday and Friday, noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, live right here on Sports Social Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Catch it live. If you want to do it live, of course, feel free to chime in with our various topics and, ask questions of our guests. You can catch Sports Social Chicago every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Social Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe.
All right. We also want to thank you so much to Miss Christine Mack from KXRB, as well as it turns out her college friend and our new friend Sean W. Anderson from CHGO White Sox. Of course, we love having them on. So you're catching up on some memories, and like Sean just replied to me on Twitter X. Small world, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right, so first, Sid and Christine, I'm LaKeena. Stay cool out there and dry, too, if you're going to the Cubs Sox game today. This has been Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago, and we'll see you guys next week.
Go Sox! Holla!